Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here for instant match reaction to Newcastle United 4, Leeds United 3. With myself, Stephen Brown, and Jason Booker, and also joining us. I'm so glad he invited him on. It's our resident Newcastle United fan. It is Lou to give us his perspective as well. The unbeaten run is over, and this is going to be a little bit of a struggle, is this review, because I don't think there's any coherent way to really analyse that game and what's happened in that game. A crazy game of football, just absolutely mad. But unfortunately, Leeds have lost it with the last kick of the game to that man again, Harvey Barnes. Jay, I'll start with you. I feel like it was a good performance in so many aspects tonight, and the way we approached the game. I was concerned before the game. I thought, where's the attacking threat coming from? You know, we had Brendan on, we had DCL. I did worry about that, but actually we looked really lively. Everything worked. The opening, I felt like we fully deserved to get our noses in front. But, as soon as we get our noses in front, we're pegged back immediately. Just, we can't seem to keep a lead. But yeah, frustration, unbeaten run over. I mean, how are you feeling a few minutes after full time?
Truthfully, it's the most gutted I've been after a loss since the playoff final. That's genuinely
I would say that.
As far back as I can think of a result where I were like genuinely dejected. Not even losing away at Burnley.
Yeah,
I expected to lose again today. I said that in the preview, we were kind of previewing the game in the group earlier on, and I was saying I thought Newcastle would have too much. I thought they'd have too much in terms of legs, too much quality, and yet again the boys have kind of shown that to be a bit of a fallacy. They went out and they really imposed themselves on the game. I thought we were by far the better team until we scored. Newcastle had 5 or 10 minutes from when we scored to maybe 5 minutes after they scored. I'm going to cut to the chase with it a little bit tonight because, like I say, I expected to lose. I'm dejected because of the manner in which the game went. The moments of kind of key when we should just be defending a little bit better. I also feel really aggrieved because I just feel like we just didn't get our slice of the luck tonight. And we've said that a few times this season, and it sounds like sour grapes, and it's not. It's just a couple of them moments to kind of go for us in a slightly different way, and the game doesn't go away from us in the way that it does. There's the hitting the crossbar, there's the save that Pope makes completely accidentally against his leg, the handball, the two very different handballs. Somebody else said to me, well, they were both penalties for handballs. Thow's is completely different to Brendan's. Brendan's just jumping from 3 yards away and it hits him. It's a penalty, I get it, but it's brutal. I'm seeing all sorts of comments coming in. I don't think there's any subs to blame. I think that's just straight away looking for a Farkabash again. I think it's harsh to even blame Perry for the fourth. I know he gets a hand to it, but the ball's getting blasted at him from basically the penalty spot through crowded bodies in the last minute of the game. Like, all that is kind of second to the way that game went. And, in hindsight, we will look back at this as a Premier League classic. I truly believe that. I think it'll go down as one of them that you'll see on the Sky tickers, and there'll be catchback to this year when this happened and all that. And, I just feel very aggrieved, very salty that we go in front 3 times away from home and come away with nothing in a game that we thoroughly deserved at least a point.
Yeah, and it's doubly gutting as well. I mean, obviously West Ham losing a game yesterday, and when Aronson puts us 3-2 up in the 79th minute, you're looking at that point, an 11-point gap to West Ham. It remains 8, which obviously is very sizable. But, if we'd have managed to get over the line with this one, Jay, I mean, 11 points would have been, it's almost, you're not home and hosed, but that advantage is absolutely huge. And I'm not saying, because we've lost it, we're suddenly, banging trouble again. There's still a hell of a lot of work that West Ham would have to do to catch us, but it's aggravating because I know there were 10 minutes added on, so we were 20 minutes away from seeing the game out at that point. But if we could have got a win today, Jay, it would have meant so much.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I am very quick to always bring it back to perspective. West Ham lose at home yesterday to Nottingham Forest, who were the closest competitor to West Ham. They're in a real bad hole. Us going away at Newcastle and losing is nothing. It's the manner of the defeat that's stinging, that's hurting. And you're right, like 11 points would have been huge, but 8 points is also huge. We were talking yesterday about what West Ham are going to have to do over the next less than half a season now to kind of come back from this, and it's a tall order considering the fact that they're on 14 points. So yeah, it's massive. I just want to bring. I'm not going to do this going back and forward with the chat tonight because we're on a bit of a time constraint. But can we just bring this comment up about Perry? This one. Apart from the second goal, all the others were terrible. What are you talking about? Honestly, I could lose it with the way that I feel tonight. The first from Barnes, you want him to save that? Like, the third is a penalty. Come on, Paul. Like, behave yourself. Behave yourself. Stop looking for opportunities to just go at the player that you've been going at forever. Have you learnt nothing from the redemption that Brendan's showing himself tonight? Have you learnt nothing? Sorry. I feel like I want to get stuff off my chest, but
yeah. Let's bring Lou into this. Lou, obviously, Newcastle perspective. Were you worried, kind of the way the game started, leading to that Leeds United first goal? Because it did feel like Leeds were very much on top. I mean, what did you make of that kind of opening to the first Leeds goal?
I think from my perspective, I was worried when I saw the lineup. I said it to you guys in a group. People have got this misconception about Newcastle having one of the best midfields with them three in the middle, but it hasn't worked for a long time, unfortunately. End of last season, beginning of this season. And that proved to be the case. You were overrunning us, you were bullying us, you were actually doing what we do to teams. You were pressing us high, you were aggressive, you were on the front foot. And arguably could have been a bit more out of sight in the first half. Unfortunately, let you guys down later on in that half is that you dropped deep when you scored, and I think if you'd have carried on that momentum, I think you could have been a bit more out of sight. But we looked shaky. Chow's been one of our best signings. Looked like he'd won a competition to play in that game. Like, just horrific. Got booked so early on and never ever settled into that. And we were rash. We seemed ill-disciplined, which we have been in occasions. And listen, it wasn't good enough from our perspective, and not no disrespect to you guys at Leeds, but that's what we've seen a lot across the season. Just disjointedness and a lack of balance. Luckily, it did change for us, but yeah, I was worried because the way that you were attacking, we couldn't really string a proper pass together and a real good rhythm about it. We've got players that are out of form, players playing in positions they probably shouldn't be doing. But what I will say about it is that we continue to show a lot of fight, despite sometimes not always being at a greatest. We've got a lot of fight about us, and in that first half, we did grind out what we could possibly do when we were pretty poor, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and just from your outside perspective, I mean, what do you make of Leeds United? Obviously, you've watched them tonight, and we know you watch quite a lot of games, obviously, and you've seen them a few times this season. What do you make? Because obviously, it's good to get an outside perspective. What do you make when you see Leeds United? Do you look at us and think, I'm watching a team who's going to be playing in the Premier League next season? Are they good enough? That kind of thing. What's your take on Leeds as generally?
My take is, I think you've got enough to stay up. I know I said it to you guys. I'll say it here. I think January is massive, absolutely massive for you guys. Even if you just bring 1 or 2 in, because I'm looking at the likes of West Ham and Nottingham Forest, and they're not very good at the moment. What I saw tonight is a team that played with a lot of confidence, a team that wanted to knock the ball around, a team that were confident in what they were wanting to do. You had a game plan and an identity about yourselves, which I was really impressed about. And listen, I'm not kind of being biased, but going to Newcastle at midweek on the floodlights is not one of the easiest trips in the Premier League. We're very good at home when it's in that situation, and you took the game to us and we're better. You frustrated the crowd. The crowd were quiet for the first 10, 15 minutes. I think what woke us up was an incident in the penalty area that kind of got the crowd G'd up a little bit when they weren't. I think you've got enough to stay up. I do think it's going to be a battle, and you guys know I've said that from day one, and I still kind of stand by that. But what I'm saying is, you've got players who seem to be together. What would concern me, and what I said earlier, is that when you go a goal down or you concede a goal, you drop very deep. There's almost like an apprehension, a bit of nervousness, and I think that's just being a bit more braver in that situation. Because if you'd have taken that game to us after you scored the goal or second goal, I think you'd have won that, if I'm being honest. And especially the way our defence was looking, with two players playing on one leg, with Tino Livramento and Botman. They're nowhere near fit, but we had to put them in because Chow just was horrendous. Lewis Hall's been exceptional, but he's never going to be a centre-back, and he's always marauding forward. And we had to play Lewis Myler, who is 19 years old, played right-back, centre midfield, and then centre-back all in the same game. And when you scored that third goal, the whole balance was out of shape. So I think from your perspective, if you'd have taken it to us, you'd have won. But I think you've got enough. I just think you need to be a bit braver when you go a goal ahead, and just add a bit more strength in there. Because I think when the tough got going, you weren't weak, but you were looking a little bit vulnerable.
I think there's a couple of bits to that. I think the games have really caught up to us, and it was something I was saying in the build up to this. Liverpool away, in the way that we played that game, Manchester United at the weekend, and we saw after about 70 minutes of that game that we were really struggling for legs. And then again today, and we're not in the privileged position of being in the Premier League for a period of time where you've got the capabilities on the bench to replace like for like. Because once you go past some of these players, the quality drop off is pretty massive. You see that today, and I liked what we've seen from Bar now, but you see that with Joe Rodon coming back in today. I mean, I cannot believe he was playing today, if I'm honest, given how bad that injury looked only a week ago. I think it was a week ago, that injury, and maybe just over. It was a Liverpool game, wasn't it? So 10 days, maybe something like that, whatever. He's come back in. You could see that he was struggling come the end. You could see that the legs were really burning out. Stack was absolutely knackered from 50 minutes, but you can't replace them for like quality when you look into the bench, because that's the period of this journey that we're in. And I think Lou makes a point in the way that we sit back after goals, but I also would argue that defensively we're often a lot better than that. Like defensively, we are actually, even though we concede because we haven't kept too many clean sheets, we don't let the opposition create as many chances as what we saw tonight. Do we, Browney? I mean, me and you watch every game, and we come and deeper. We so often say they score with the first shot that's on target, and I mean, we did even say that during today. But the game changed later on into the game when the legs got up under the lights midweek against Newcastle. As you say, is always going to be really, really tricky. It's not that. Like if we'd have been holding on at 1-1 and lost later on 2-1 in a game in which we deserved to lose, I would kind of be coming on here and saying, look, it's a game that I expected. It's just the manner in which it was that kind of stings. But I think you make some good points, and we've said, me and Brownie have said all season, this team's a bottom 5 team, and that doesn't change because we've been 7 unbeaten. It doesn't change because we nearly got something from this game because we deserve to win. This team is still a bottom 5 team. And if we manage to finish 16th or 17th, I'd be absolutely delighted to take it right now.
Yeah, and I think you're more than capable of doing it. I know we said it, didn't we, in our chat between us when the game was happening, that people might comment, and I'm seeing some crazy comments, but the defending, and I said this, it's kind of contradicting myself. The defending wasn't great from both sides, but actually your set piece defending was exceptional.
Yeah,
you defended 3 corners off a line, and usually I think we've got like most corners in the league by a long way, and we usually score them in the majority of games. But you defended, you were throwing bodies on the line, you were saving stuff. Yes, we hit the post, and you guys hit the crossbar and stuff, but you were defending actually not that bad. It's just in them clutch moments when you really need to stand strong a little bit. And I'm probably going to antagonize you guys and the guys in the comments, but it's one of those situations when you've probably tried to play for a little bit of time and the guys are out on the legs, and you've had to make them subs. And actually, those subs have added them extra minutes on in the game, and that's when Harvey Barnes has scored. Because that extra bit is when Shah's gone off injured and everything else. And then obviously it's taken a couple of minutes for them subs, and the referees added them on, which sometimes doesn't always happen, but he's obviously done what he's done, and that's when we score. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? The guys, you guys couldn't walk. I think half the players on the whole pitch couldn't walk. It was just a crazy bonkers game.
I think the big identifier in the second half was that Newcastle, they did it in the first half, but they really started attacking down our left, down your right, in the second half. And that is our weak area defensively.
I thought that were a nightmare for us.
Yeah,
Every time there was a ball out there on the right, you know it was going to be a whip cross, and you knew there were going to be problems. Why couldn't we get to grips with that, Jay? What was
it's a combination, because Gabby's a great player. I mean, he's arguably one of the best fullbacks in the division this season going forward. Like, his numbers back that up. He's excellent. Defensively, he's got limitations. Then he's got the worst centre-back out of the three alongside him in Pascal, who doesn't read the game very well. And then when Gruev's in there, because Gruev hasn't got the physical attributes to get back quickly, it leaves a big gap. If you saw today, Gruev wasn't covering that ground and wasn't able to kind of back Gabby up in the right way, which was causing us all sorts of problems. And I said in the messages, they clearly, at some point during that second half, Eddie Howe said to them, stop putting the balls in high, whip them low. Because there was a distinct difference in the way that the ball started getting delivered into the box. It became low crosses instead of high crosses, because we were dealing with the high crosses. Pascal's very good in the air. Rodon's good in the air. Biel's excellent in the air.
And we did that because Voltemada's 6'6". He's a big lad and he's looking like he's going to win headers, but actually he's better with the ball at his feet when he was up in the air. Brought him off, brought Visser on, and you can't go high with Visser against him a lot at the back. So I said to you, didn't I, halfway through the second half, got to bring Visser on Voltemada, because that was what we were going to do something with the game. And fortunately for us, it did, but then it was difficult for you guys to cope. We know that Barnes, I'm saying it, you said it, and how many times that Barnes is always a bit of an nemesis for you guys, but Barnes is coming off deep and running on the angle and coming off them crosses. Jacob Murphy's, again, being very poor, but he can put one of the best crosses in the Premier League in on his day, and it worked out. And I questioned some of the subs in his lineup, but actually the way that it materialised, he absolutely got it spot on. And it's hard. Listen, I know it's hard for you guys. I've been at St James Park. I said to you when we lost against, Liverpool in the last minute and stuff. It's the worst feeling. It's been done to us. It's not going to be the first, and it's not going to be the last time for us all, is it? I think what's harder for you guys to probably take is, even though you're expecting to lose, like you said, you were massively in that game. We weren't at our best, and we haven't been at our best all season. We've just shown a lot of fight and courage to get back into it. And to be fair, we've not shown a lot of that this season. And like you guys have been coming tired with games, we've got a game nearly every 3 days in January as well with Champions League and stuff. We needed that win to just give us some kind of momentum going into these lot of games, because otherwise we're going to go out of one competition. I didn't expect us to play that much of a strong side, and I expect us to rest plenty against Bournemouth. And I think that shows how serious Howe's taking the Premier League now, because I think he were a little bit concerned if we'd have lost tonight. He's looking over his shoulder a little bit, if I'm being honest.
Harvey fucking Barnes, man. That guy, honestly, it was basically in the door at Leeds United, and then he signed for West Brom.
He's taking it personally.
And he 8 goals he scored against us now, and every time he lines up against us, it just feels like it's an inevitability. I'll never forget that goal that he scored for Leicester. We scored, and we'd not even stopped celebrating in the south stand. They took kick off, went down the left hand side, cut in on his right, and whipped it into the top corner. And I was like, I didn't even see it. I was still celebrating.
Yeah, it's just standard, isn't it? And I won't be surprised if he breaks Shearer's record, to be honest, against us. Someone who tonight it felt almost snatched away from him, and it's kind of a cruel twist of fate. Brendan Aronson, I thought he was absolutely phenomenal again. He's in this run of form at the moment where, he's our main creative outlet. He's the one who can get us up the field. And now we're getting end product as well. Scores against Man United at the weekend. Scores 2 fantastic goals. Again, smart, clever finishers, composed. And then, the penalty happens and, he goes off. I assume it's just cramp and he'll be fine. But, it's just sod's law in it, because Jay, it feels like his redemption arc had kind of reached the pinnacle almost. Like, nobody can be questioning this guy. And look, I think if you're slating Brendan after that, I think it's a fool's errand. But it's just such a shame. It would have been so nice to win that game with Brendan having scored and bagged a couple of goals there. I just feel like that would have been just a perfect cherry on top for his comeback into this Leeds United team and how well he's been doing.
Well, it is happening on Twitter. I will tell you that. Unbelievably. I closed it straight down. I started looking, and then I thought, no, don't do this to yourself, because, I thought he was sensational tonight. I thought he absolutely ripped Newcastle apart in the first half. Lou, and I mean, we'll get your take on it in a second, but genuinely, I thought he was unreal in that first half. It was unplayable. Like, he was literally tearing Newcastle apart. And I mean, the goal, he would so often scuff that. We've seen it time and time again, and he slots it in. And I mean, then, you know, the second half, he was less impactful, but he then comes up with another sublime finish. It's very, very clever. Real, you know, technical step over, gets the ball out of his feet, brings it across the goal, gives Pope absolutely no chance. And that's on the back of a great finish against Manchester United. I just hope it doesn't detract anything away from what is he
silly jumping up like that though? Is it daft to be, you know, if you're jumping up to block the ball, don't jump with your arms stretched out. I mean, you know,
look,
you've got to keep your arms down, haven't you?
Browney, you know? I'm not going to defend him. It's a penalty, but it's how many times are we going to have this debate about natural position for a hand when you jump? What the fuck? Sorry, is a natural position for a hand when you jump. Like, he's kind of turned away with his back and it's come out to the side. It's not like he was there. It was out to the side and the ball's hit his hand, which then knocks it up in the air. It's a penalty, but unless you are going to pin your hands to the back of your backside, like Beal did the other week in that sliding challenge, and the commentator actually made a point of, that's not natural. Yeah, that's less natural than it being out by your side. I just think it's so harsh. I'm not saying it's not a penalty. It's a penalty. I'd be screaming blue murder if it were the other way. Of course I would. But it's not like Thous, which was almost an intentional handball, really. Just my opinion. I wish it could have happened to anybody else, because he didn't deserve it tonight, if I'm honest. Well, we didn't deserve it tonight, but he certainly didn't deserve it.
No, and just the momentum swings in that game as well, Lewis. Because obviously you put in a group,
I told you,
you've got this win in the bag now, and you know
what you did.
Yeah, but and it was such a strange game for that, wasn't it? Because at that point it did feel very much kind of, we just needed to see it out, and it was just strange how the momentum swung, and then suddenly, you know, St James's Park is all over it, and you know, we're hanging on, and you know, just such a.
You should have been down to 10 men.
Such a seesaw of a game.
You should have been down to 10 men. I'm not going to.
No. Listen, I kind of don't disagree with it either. I think the weird thing is, it's one of those where if he is going to give a penalty against Chow, then it is a second yellow and a red card, because he's either got to say it's a deliberate handball, it's in an actual position. I mean, it is a penalty. I can't hide behind that. It's a penalty, so he's got to probably give a yellow card. But, you know, I mean, it's a consistency of referees, isn't it? This is what I was saying about to you guys, that, you know, we felt we had one earlier when it hit the guy's hand, but then we got one turned down at Old Trafford. I mean, crikey, we know about it between us lads, don't we? Sometimes that always doesn't happen, but you got to be careful. You can't overrate Aronson, you know, because people are getting you back for overrating him now, won't you? But listen, it's swings it. It was a crazy game. It's an absolutely crazy game. I said this during what we were chatting, and I wasn't supposed to be joining in your own commentary, and it turned into just one of the absolutely crazy games that I did. And I listen, it's hard, isn't it? Because you're always going to be slightly biased to your team. There's no denying that. But it was one of those games that it could have gone either way. I said it could have been ended 7-all, 8-all. I mean, I've just seen that comment all on Farker. Really? Seriously? Wrong subs? It's not absolutely disgusting, is it? I mean, I don't know. It's weird how people see stuff in it. I'm
going to call it for what it is, Lou. It's unintelligent emotion. That's what that is. I'm sorry. I'll call it for what it is. I'm the straight talking Leeds fan.
That's the first loss in 8 games or something. Yeah. I mean, Jesus.
But listen, it was one of those games that it happened where you were on top and you were doing very well, and I can't imagine there's many Leeds fans at half time going, well, that wasn't a good half. We don't deserve to be doing what we're doing. If you are, come on and say it, because you need to watch that game again. I'm saying that as a Newcastle fan completely. I said to you guys what I thought needed to happen from our perspective. It kind of happened, and sometimes didn't kind of happen. I mean, it all materials like it worked out. But I think people calling out Perry's.
Well, I do want to touch on this. Just a quick shout out to Andrew Pinfield as well, watching from Adelaide. Good morning, sir. I hope you're enjoying the stream. I just want to say this because Farke has come out. Now, this is the second game on the trot where Farke, post-match, has said Perry should do better. So Farke has come out and said Perry should do better for the final goal, considering the pace it went in. He also criticised Perry, saying, I don't normally... criticise individuals, but he did. And he's kind of called Perry out again there. Now,
I think that's harsh.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, if Farke's doing it, because we know how kind of, emotionally stable Farke is, how restrained he is. Are you surprised that he's actually kind of acknowledging that?
What did he say?
A good thing to do. So he's basically said Perry should do better for the final goal.
He maybe should. He maybe should. But I still think it's harsh. Like I say, Barnes has hit it with fair power from the penalty spot through a crowd of players in the very, very last second of the game. It's,
I've got to admit, when I watched it, I didn't think Perry's fault. I didn't look at that and go,
no, I didn't.
Oh, that was Perry's fault. Or
I think
it didn't really cross my mind, to be honest.
People gain momentum of complaining about things, and then it's the first thing that you look at every time the ball goes in the back of the net. I mean, there were a fan earlier, I think it was Paul, that said he wasn't at fault for only the second goal. The third was a penalty, and the first was no keeper in the world was saving the first one. So Paul's got him down for 3 of the 4 as being at fault. Like, that's just a nonsense. You can maybe say he was at fault for the 4th. He wasn't at fault for the other 3. Not at all. I think it's harsh. I think, in terms of the reasons that we've conceded the goals, I think you have to look more at the erratic defending that was all going on around it, personally. And I wouldn't say that in most weeks.
Sorry, I'm watching it. You're going to hate me. I'm watching it again. I'm a Newcastle fan, right? So I just rewound the game, right, and I'm watching it now. We have a corner come in on 102 minutes from Lewis Hall. Perry jumped above everybody else and punched it away. Nobody's coming out and saying, "Great punch, Perry." Concede to throw in. The throw-ins come in. Nonto's gone off the pitch. We take a quick throw in, but the Leeds team are fast asleep. You've not focused. Cross comes in, not really dealt with by defence. Barnes turns out of nowhere. I don't know what Perry's supposed to do. I don't know what he's supposed to do to do any better. I think it's really harsh. I think there's other factors leading to getting to that point, and you can't just blame him for that. I mean, Perry's made a good punch from the corner, but you don't hear people going, "Well, actually, he potentially saved that." It's only because it's gone in at last minute. But it's somebody has to point a finger at somebody. Well, actually, no, you don't. Sometimes those things happen, but actually, there's other material factors in that beforehand which can lead to that point. Like, you watch that throw-in, Leeds fans. Bruno should not be allowed 10, 15 yards in that minute of the game to be allowed to put a ball in. I'm warning about that.
No, you're right. I mean, it's like this one as well. Like, we lack resilience because we conceded 102nd minute goal tonight. In this run of 7 unbeaten, by the way, for a recently promoted team that's in and amongst the bottom teams in the division, we've come back on several occasions. Away at Brentford, away at Sunderland, held out against Liverpool for a 0-0 draw. Like, stop doing this. Stop catastrophizing the situation in the moment of being emotional. I get it. But let's not undo all the hard work that we've done over this last 7 games. This kind of attitude drives me mad.
Yeah. Gav saying here, for me, we lost the game purely on the timing of subs. Again, I don't see it. If you've got players dropping down who couldn't carry on, you've got to get them off the pitch and sub them at the end. I mean, there's just no what can you do? They had to come off.
Well, the thing is, if you didn't do it, guys, right? If them guys had stayed on, there's no hindsight's a wonderful thing. We don't know what the score would have been, but say that had have happened, he'd have been crucified to going, well, they should have brought him off. Brings him off. He's not going to win either way, are you, in that situation? The guys couldn't walk. The referee has got to, well, he doesn't have to, but he has decided to add the minutes on, and probably rightly so. I'd have felt the same. I'd have been aggrieved, but obviously he's got to do it because of the situation where it is. But what's Farke going to do? He's got to say, right, you're going to play on one leg and carry on until the end.
Exactly. Just want to bring this comment up. I disagree. I think they will get discouragement from this performance. There was nothing in tonight that would make West Ham think that Leeds were there to be got at. They'll see the opposite. They'll see a team that are capable of going away to Newcastle and doing that. Let's, again, not look at everything we possibly can in a negative light.
But I'll also say about that from, who cares about what West Ham do at the moment? Concentrate on yourselves. Like, you should get encouragement from that performance.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. There's some bits which should be better. Absolutely. I could say the same about Newcastle, even though we've won the game. But actually, West Ham getting encouragement, you should be thinking, we've taken a team that are in the Champions League right till the very end, and we probably should have got a point out of that at least.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, I know it's hard because I'm saying it because you're in that situation, you're emotionally invested, you're rightly feeling aggrieved and really peeved off with everything, completely get it. But actually just maybe turn it around a little bit and actually go thinking you're out of, you're out of relegation zone, you still got an half decent cushion with it. You're doing all right. You're doing better than what probably people expected you to do. That's a fact.
Yeah. John comments here, we just didn't have the legs at the end of the game or the quality off the bench to replace with equal quality. We lost the game due to tiredness and squad depth. Jose, I watched West Ham last night. They could still go on a run if some of those goals stood their win and maybe on the up.
But if James Justin scored the one that hit the bar, we could have won tonight. If that. It's nonsense. They didn't.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get final thoughts then, because I know we have to wrap up. Lewis, you're the victor. You must be buzzing, obviously. Fair play to you to coming on and not completely rubbing it in our faces, though. We appreciate that. But final thoughts for you on what's been a crazy game tonight.
Listen, I'm not going to hide the fact I am buzzing. I was even by myself in the living room going like an absolute crazy person because it's very rare that we do that. And I know it sounds a very sentimental thing, but after the news today with Kevin Keegan, winning in that form, 4-3 and all that, it's just weird stuff happens, doesn't it? It's like, a bit of fate and sometimes. We've still got a lot of work to do. We've jumped to 6th, but we could easily jump down to 10th, 11th, 12th. It's very tight. We needed to win that game tonight. And with respect to Leeds, it's the kind of games that we should be winning if we're going to get back into Europe. We've squeezed it at the very end. Fortunately, lucky for however we want to look at it, we have got the result. I think there's positives to take, there's negatives to take. But for us, we've got a huge January, probably one of the toughest we've had in a long time because we've done okay in recent years. We've got a FA Cup game against Bournemouth, which isn't going to be easy. We've got Carabao semi-final against Man City to defend a trophy. We've got Champions League games coming up. We've just got a run of games, which is absolutely crazy, and we need people fit, and we haven't got a defence, which is going to be worrying. So we needed that win tonight. And I've tried not to rub you guys' nose in it too much because you're rightly annoyed with it, and I completely get that. But, end of the day, you'd be feeling the same, wouldn't you? If you won it, it's one of those that you're just happy if you win it. It will go down as a classic, but it's not probably for the right reasons for you when it is for us. That's just football sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Jay, so the unbeaten run is over, but we get a reprieve from the league on Sunday. I don't know about you, but it's been such a mad run of games. It's felt like, being back in the Championship almost, games coming thick and fast. I'm kind of appreciative, actually. There's going to be a little bit of a pause now and something a bit different with the FA Cup. And I guess, look, there's still encouragement. It's really bitter at the moment. It's difficult to accept that result tonight. But when you look at the bigger picture stuff, we're in such a strong position, and hopefully the boys can put another run like this together or, keep punching above the weight going forward.
Yeah, I think the break comes at a good time. It's frustrating because this run's been so good for it to end. Like, even if we'd have lost with a bit of a whimper tonight, it'd have kind of felt better, which sounds weird.
I'm going to ask that question to you guys. You took the words out of my mouth with that.
It's a weird one, and I can't really explain it in the height of it now. Like, I'm already starting to come down from it. It is only one game at the end of the day, and we'll look back at it fondly or not over the years, and as long as we stay up, we'll probably look back at it as a crazy game in which we all enjoyed, right? This team have got enough. We've seen that. They're capable, really capable of getting results, and thankfully West Ham look like they're just completely not. And that is our battle between now and the end of the season. This run hasn't changed the way that I felt about it going into the Manchester City game, Brownie. It hasn't. And I've maintained that all the way through, even when we beat Palace 4-1, even when we beat Chelsea. My feelings around this haven't changed at all. We need to aim for a point per game, and a point per game will keep us up easily, by the way. So, we don't need to aim for more wins as such. I know a lot of people have been kind of saying that this week because a lot of this run has been draws, etc., etc. It's not actually true. A point per game will be absolutely more than enough. So yeah, I think the break comes at a good time. I'm gutted that it's finishing like this, but that even in defeat, it still has got a lot of positives.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just finish up on Digler's comment. I think we should not get too disheartened by this game. I'm still confident. Hope we get some new signings in the window, though. Good stuff. We're going to leave it there. Short and sweet one tonight. Myself and Jay will be back Friday morning. We'll kind of get into it a little bit deeper, look at some other stuff as well ahead of the FA Cup game at the weekend against Derby. If you've not done already, please smash a like on the video, get your comments in if you're watching this later, and get subscribed to the channel. Lou, thank you so much for joining us tonight, mate. Jay, thank you as well. And we will be back again at the end of the week.